Welcome back to Road to Pro. This is episode 3. My name is Nightlight. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today, I'm going to be using this episode to tell you how I prepare for a bigger tournament. So I get a lot of comments asking me, are you doing anything special in terms of preparation or training for your goal of reaching the top 250? To be honest, I'm not really training in the way that a lot of you might think that I am. I do my little locals. I play with my friends for fun. I try to apply new knowledges to games that I already know and use that new skill set to expand my knowledge base on what is possible in a pinball game. However, today's video, something that I do actually do is I prepare for bigger tournaments. What does that mean? Well, if there's a game list that ever gets released for a bigger tournament, you see all the names of the games, but that might not mean anything to you. For certain, if you're going to a big tournament, there's going to be some games on there you're not fully familiar with, or at least you're not comfortable with. So what do you do in that occasion? How do you become comfortable with a game list before you enter the tournament venue? Obviously, every game on that game list isn't going to be accessible to you in your little local area. I will do my best to see how close certain games are on Pinball Map if it's a very serious tournament. However, the tournament that I'm going to be preparing for in this video is actually a local New York City one. We don't have a lot of Whopper heavy tournaments in the city, and Gabriel Chazanov, one of the tournament directors in the city that does a lot of the local weeklies, decided to host a bigger tournament called The Harvest at Gebbert's Beer Culture here in New York City. One of the first Whopper Dense tournaments this year in the city. Very, very excited to see it, hoping it's going to be a yearly thing, and it's you have mains and classics. It's going to be best game. There are only 5 classics. It's best game, but you get your top 2 scores on every game for classics put through. And I took a look at the classics that he was putting through in the tournament, and there are a lot of weirdos, and some of them scared me. I have never heard of at least one of them. I've heard of a few others, but they're just not ones that you would expect to see. Definitely from the dregs of someone's basement. So I wanted to take a look at some of the rules and the gameplay of it, and I wanted to do it with you because I feel like this would be informative for people who want to prepare for bigger tournaments. Just step by step, my process on how I walk into a tournament fully confident and prepared. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I do want to give you a little rundown on everything that's been going on my journey as well. I am currently IFPA ranked 1031. I believe when I started this, I was around 1400 or 1300, so I've definitely moved down quite a bit. That 1030 is not actually realistic. There are 2 tournaments that I just won that have not been submitted yet, or one of them submitted, and it's somewhere in this middle in-between state, so don't know what's going on with that, but once it gets submitted, I'll definitely drop below 1,000. I did the math. One of the tournaments is a little bit bigger. It was actually the X-Men release party, which I got this beautiful plaque made by Sam Hall, who makes incredible plaques for the New York City Jack Bar tournaments. So big thank you for Sam. And then I also have the tinier official Stern one, which is also very cool in its own regard. So I won that. That's a little bit bigger of a Whopper tournament. Not huge. It's going to be, I think it estimated around 17 or 18. And then I won another weekly, which that one is pretty small, but it'll definitely, it was a pin golf tournament, so that's going to throw things off too. I'm not sure how that math works out. I do know I'm going to be under 1,000. I was estimating somewhere in the low 900s. We'll see when it comes out. Not super worried about that. Just wanted to give you an update on where things are, and hopefully you can keep following me on this journey. Let's get into the preparation. So, as I said, we're going to be preparing for the classics specifically for this tournament. There are only 5 games. I thought that was the perfect amount to make a video for. And I'll show you my step-by-step of how I prepare for this. I have taken a look at some of the pinballvideos.com videos of tournament play on a lot of these machines. So check those out if you're unfamiliar with these games, because I'm just going to be running through the notes that I've taken, and this is a refresher for me as well, so I can actually visually see how I'm going to plan on playing these games. So first off, this first game is Big Guns. I had heard of Big Guns before. Bing Guns? I had heard of Big Guns before. I'd never seen it. I didn't know what it looked like. If you go on Pinball Videos right now and look it up, there's only one tournament video and a couple tutorials that are super, super long, which for a game of this era, I feel like the tutorials should not be that long. So I had to break it down for myself to some degree. I'm going to open my notes app here because that is where I keep all my notes so I can bring it up to the tournament if need be. Biggest thing for me, I do not like to have walls of texts for when I'm walking up to a game. So we have stand-ups on the left and the right, and then there's 2 more on the far left and the far right, so that's 10 in total. You have scoops on the far left orbit and the far right orbit. Those are ball locks. You have an upper playfield, sort of. It's not like a raised playfield, but it is in the upper half of the playfield. And there are drop targets up here, which are called the trolls. And that you just knock those down with those 2 upper flippers up there. There's another middle target all the way at the top. And then right to the left of that, that's actually the final shot you need to hit to start multi-ball. So that's my basic knowledge of the playfield. I want to go into every game having a basic knowledge of things on the playfield. I didn't name absolutely everything. Like the left out lane has a kickback. The left in lanes will light extra ball on a certain shot. There's probably not going to be extra balls on our game, and I don't think it gives points, so I'm not focused on that too much. But there's a gate open on the right side that you can open with if you hit enough of the guards, which are these stand-ups. But all that to say, I didn't name the things that I didn't think were going to be immediately important. These are things I have in the back of my mind just in case situationally I need it. But most of pinball isn't really situational in this era. It's about finding your rhythm on that one thing that you can do over and over and over. This is best game. So we do multiple days of trying to put up your best score possible. It's actually a wonderful setup tournament because it's only $60 to enter, and then there is not like a card format or where you have to pay for entries. It's just coin drop, and the coin drop's going to be exactly the same as it was in the bar normally. So that's huge. I know maybe that might be detrimental to Whoppers, but I think that makes it more accessible, especially to a lot of New York players who haven't played in the tournament style like this before. Super cool. So yeah, my theory is that we're gonna be jamming on playing these games over and over and over. There's gonna be it's 60 player maximum for 15 games, so I don't think the lines are gonna be too long. So we're gonna be able to pump these games really hard. I'm imagining that like if there's that one game, like a game like this where there's less knowledge about it, there's gonna be a couple really high scores, and then the rest are gonna be around the same place where it's just like basic knowledge level. I want to be amongst those really high scores, and I want to keep hitting this game because it's going to give me the 90s to like high 80s to low 90s that I'm looking for to get through to the finals. So I want to have a plan for the best optimal play, and then once I make it to the finals, it's no longer best game, right? You get one shot. So I also want a plan that's a little bit safer. Luckily in Classics, sometimes it tends to be the same thing, or if there's just that one thing that gives you so many points, it doesn't make sense to play safe. You just want to play for the big points every time. So what I took for notes is that there is a skill shot. It's a light plunge into, I believe it's this horseshoe thing over here. If you've ever played Wheel of Fortune, it has another skill shot like that where you kind of hit the horseshoe and then it drops back down this way. If you light plunge too lightly, then it will just fall back into this area, which looks very dangerous because this gate will not be open. But if you light plunge hard enough, funnily enough, and it comes back, it'll bounce off here and pretty safely come back to around this area. It'll go up, and then it'll come back down. This is a horrible way to draw, and probably hit around this sling or the back of your flipper here, which is not the worst thing in the world. I'm going to figure out if there's a way that I could... Oh, I can just draw like this. Super sick. Okay, I know that line is super light, but I think that's going to have to do for now. Yeah, so light plunging and missing isn't the worst thing. I think over plunging is actually one of the scarier things. Every time that you end up in this back region, whether it's through the scoops or through the shot here and it doesn't do anything, the ball will launch out through here and then directly at your flipper, like towards the tip, which is a very scary situation because there's no way you're getting control of that. You gotta flick that away, and that's gonna go like over here somewhere, and it's gonna bank off, and it's gonna be over here in this mess. I want to avoid that as much as possible. So I think to combo the safe plays and the smart plays, you light plunge. If you plunge too lightly, that's okay. Just get control on the left side. And but the skill shot will go into this right scoop, which is a lock ball, so you get a free lock out of it, and I think 100,000, which is a decent amount, and that increases over time. What I hear about this game, some more notes. You want to go for the hypothetical eternal multi-ball. What does that mean? Well, the sides here are going to be lit for locks, and some depending on how the ROM is set up, sometimes you have to hit enough of the stand-ups here to light each side. Sometimes they're just lit all the time. I don't know what it's going to be right now. Either way, you want to just be in a situation where you're constantly locking balls through those orbits and then just getting it up here and hitting that. and starting your multi-ball, and then you can start taking your shots at your stand-ups here, or even if you're at the top, some drop targets. I think the top is safer for single ball play, and the bottom is probably better for multi-ball play, because these you need to hit the side ones as well, which are really scary, but when you got a bunch of balls flying around, that's probably super doable. Stand-ups, which are the soldier shots here, I think that's what they're called, or like yeah, something like that. They give bonuses if you hit them all. One of the bonuses is a light kickback. I would never go for that in single ball play unless I really needed to, but that's always an option because, again, you have to go for those far left and far right. I didn't write this down, but the multipliers are right here. I don't think bonus is huge in this game, but I mean, like, a 9x is something that you probably want to pay attention to since it's in the dead middle of this playfield. So the way you get these multipliers, you need to get it behind these drop targets into these areas. What I don't like about that is, again, it'll send the ball flying down either this way or that way towards the flipper, which again is very unsafe. Might be better to just grind out multi-balls, depends on how it's playing. I think a lot of this is going to come down to, you know, day one I get in there and see what feels right, what doesn't. Also, a little tidbit of information I found out is that sometimes these lock shots are not only from the tip of the flippers, but they're also just backhandable. It doesn't look geometrically possible from this playfield, but I've heard from multiple sources that it is backhandable on some games. And if that's the case, then I will only be going multi-ball because that is the safest thing you could possibly do. Now, let's talk about tournament. Let's say I try to get all this set up and I have a bad ball one. What am I doing then? Based on the scores, if the scores aren't that crazy, which for this game they might not be, I think that it wouldn't be a horrible idea to, if I just need to just get some points and get things started, to get the ball up to the upper playfield and hit down these drop targets. It's a roving score. It roves really fast, so you don't really have control over what score you're getting, but it's constantly changing, and once you hit all three down, you can get anywhere from, I think, 100,000 to 250,000. And if you can, the fall down from there isn't too scary. I in the tournament game that I watched, I saw people always get it back to at least the tip of the flipper from the top, so it seems very doable. Again, the only thing I might be scared of is accidentally hitting the scoop. But either way, I feel like that's a good way to juice out a million or two if that's all you need for the last couple points instead of going for the big multi-ball. Yeah, so that is what I got for big guns here, and let's move on to the next game. Alright, this is game 2 of 5. This is Diamond Lady, a Gottlieb that is a little bit rare. You'll see that there's a hyper-realistic woman just kind of floating around on the playfield here. This is around the time that Gottlieb was trying to do the hyper-realism with their back glasses and everything. Very interesting art style, definitely an iconic piece of pinball history. So you look at this game, you think classic, and you think like, oh, it's a classic that has to do with cards, sounds kind of boring. And I think that this game does shake up the formula a little bit. This is, bringing up my notes again, you have this left ramp, which curves all the way around. I'm just going to say right now that, maybe that's part of someone's strat. That is not a part of my strat, I don't think. I haven't seen it have much value in tournament. I know it can, but it's something that like grows incrementally, and I don't know if they'll turn that off or not. You have drop targets all around. They vary between red and black. The pops in the middle here. You have a spinner that will warp back around to the left side and probably back into the in lane. I've heard tale that sometimes it feeds kind of scarily, in which case I'll have to change my plans there. When you full plunge, you get the in lanes up here, which there's a special when lit at the top, and I think if you roll over the in lane with the lit one, you get another extra bonus in points. It's not huge, but it's something worth tapping for. And then you have this right spinner, which will go into a scoop, I believe it is. Let's see, skill shot, I'm going for the top award, which is the one that literally says top right there because it goes for Diamond Hurry Up. Diamond Hurry Up is your big hurry up jackpots. If you ever played a game like Bad Girls, you have your a million hurry up, which is you hit all the left drop targets down, or you hit all the stand-ups at least. And the points go down over time. Similar kind of thing with Diamond Lady here, except all you're hitting is the diamond card, so the red card drops. They're in safer places than the black one, I feel like. So it's funny, because in the tournament video I saw, I didn't see people really going for that. they were going just for in lanes to lit spinners, which of this era is a classic thing to do. Didn't seem quite as juicy as some other Gottliebs that do that. I know in Bad Girls, when you get into multi-ball, it lights the spinners, and that is my secret juice on that game, which is that I don't really go for the hurry-ups. I go for the lit spinners all day, because they are difficult shots, but one shot on that, if you get 2 rips, it might be enough to win you the game, honestly, because people don't really treat those spinners as like the be-all end-all that they are. People are always chasing the multi-ball jackpot, which is good, but I mean, like 3 good lit spinner rips is gonna get you over even what a jackpot could give you a multi-ball sometimes. Depends on how good the spinners are. But on this game, I saw people going for spinners because they're a little bit easier shots. They're more accessible, especially this left one right here. And they weren't getting the score that I was expecting. So I think what I'm going to go for is the diamond drops, try to get those big points, because the points can be huge on that one. Yeah, and then also, on top of that, if you hit all the diamond drops down, then you get multi-ball on the right spinner when it goes into the scoop there. So why would you not go for the reds anyway? Otherwise, my backup plan, rip spinners, the left spinner safer. Yeah, I'm avoiding this left ramp entirely. I think it's a very hard shot. I saw it rejecting for a lot of different people in a lot of different streams. It's not necessarily the scariest feed, but when it's bouncing up here, it goes like up and then back down, and then it starts bouncing around here. You could get a middle drain from there, which could be a little scary. So I think for tournament play, again, I'm going to play based on what everyone else's scores are looking like, so I'd like to not go first on this game. I'd like to go for a third or fourth, and depending on where the scores is, I might rip spinners. Otherwise, it's still going to be drop targets all day because I'm a drop target guy. I like my drop targets. Yeah, so we pushed through this one pretty quick. Pretty simple game. Uh-oh, hot dog in here. This is a goofy game. This is a bally where the game, well, we'll get to what it's all about, but I think if you look at the playfield, you already kind of get a feel for like what the games of this nature want you to do. It's a combination of a few games. You got this 4 set of in-lane, out-lanes, similar to Future Spa, and you also have these drop targets right here, which are similar to a lot of the games of that era where you're just trying to get the bonus multipliers by hitting those. I guess I'll just reveal it right now. That is kind of the game. It's the drop targets up at the top here. You can look at the rest of it. I've also seen people go for these left drop targets just because you're filling out letters in the middle of the playfield. In terms of notes here, I have you plunge, and the skill shot is to hit the K letter because the K will light the... it's not like an out lane save. It's funny. You see this section right here? This is supposed to be a drain hazard because there is a pin here that you can bump it out into the in lanes, but that's generally kind of a scary place to go. It does give you a decent amount of points if you collect there at the right time. It collects bonus, I think, but if you hit the K letter, then it actually just stops the ball here and then shoots it back up, which is kind of cool. So it's not like out lane save in the traditional sense, but it does save you there, and it's a shot you probably want to go for to get some decent points. What else I got? Yeah, out lanes like Future Spa, take care with rubbers. Yeah, all the rubbers I'm sure are gonna be here, which means that like even if you think you're safely landing full speed into something like this, you're not, so you gotta give it a tap down on the bar to get it through. I put tappable question mark because games of this era are almost always tappable. I don't see a huge amount of reason to want it to be on this flipper, and I know games like this, the post pass, where you just hit it here and then it bounces across, tend to be unreliable. On a game like Paragon, it's super unreliable, but that's because of the double flipper. Harlem is a game that you just want to tap. So I'm wondering if this game is tappable. I didn't see too many people doing it in the stream. I saw a lot of people shatzing actually, or alley passing up, which is something I need to get better at, so maybe I'll focus that. But I mean, like, if it's a game of this era that's tappable, I'm just gonna try to do it. It's what I'm comfortable with, to be honest. So I'm gonna try that. Yeah, drop targets at the top left are the main focus because that's all your bonus. The K upper lights kickback, and if you can get all the leathers, that's good. That adds to your bonus, but other than that, you kind of just want to keep ramming it up there and hitting the scoop. You can hit the scoop without getting it all the way up there, but the scoop doesn't do anything until you hit all the drop targets down. And once you hit all the drop targets down and you hit the scoop, it's another big collect. I think it becomes 25,000 every time you hit it, which is a good amount of points on this game. Yeah, it's just a game where you want to stay alive and not get too confused by the in-lane, out-lane situation. yeah, that's this. Oh, the other thing, this spinner right here looks like it's in a juicy position. Much like Future Spa, I kind of feel like you don't want to go for this left spinner ever, because again, you don't want to be on the left flipper. Like anytime you're up here, it's drain hazard time. If you can just tap over or shats over and then keep hitting this over and over, I've noticed that the fallout of the scoop here, even if it just skips it and goes through, it's not too threatening. This pop area is nowhere near as scary as Paragon. It's definitely not a beast lair. It actually ends up, the scariest thing I could see happening from that is maybe like you hit here and it sends you like over here, but it doesn't seem too scary. So just gonna go for that, avoid the spinner. I actually don't want to be up top on this game, and yeah, let's keep moving. This is game 4 of 5. This is Quicksilver. This is a game that is probably the most prominent of any of the classics in this bank. It's a game that you see the most at classics tournaments, at least. And this is a game that's very figured out. There's a couple strategies that you can go for, though. When I say figured out, I mean to say that like there's no question about what you should be doing, but there are still 2 pathways you could go down. So first thing of note, let's go through the play field. You got your traditional out lanes, in lanes. These are hungry out lanes. You have the rubber up here, which could just bounce you back down, so you have to be careful of those. Anytime you're getting an in lane is lucky in this game, in the way that like a star's in lane is lucky. You have a scoop here, which is going to advance the amount of points that these drop targets give you. You have a left spinner, which can be lit from the right in lane. And you have up top here, you have a bunch of letters, the stand-ups here and the pops, more letters at the top in lanes. Another spinner, which can be lit from the left in lane, the opposite in lane. Drop targets here, which are going to be your bonus multiplier that go up over time. You have 1 extra letter over here, just to be a little silly, I guess, and then the same thing, just in lane, out lane. So simple game, simple processes to this game. There are 2 ways of thinking that you can play this game. One of them is to rip spinners all day. This used to be my strategy. Whenever I went to a tournament before, all I would do was figure out if you could shats and then hit the in lane, and then on the way back you could just rip the spinner. And you can get pretty good points from that. It's going to be a lot of points for sure. And I would just do that over and over and over. Now, what I've noticed as I played more and more Quicksilvers is that the shats will sometimes send the ball up and out more often than not. And I like to be in control on this game. And I don't, I can't just tap because I want to hit that in lane, because that's the whole plan. So I think I'm going to ditch that strategy this tournament, or I'm probably going to try it because we have a lot of tries on these games, but what I'm going to focus on, I think, is the second strategy, which is something that I see other players do, which is that you go for this scoop early. You want to get it on the right flipper, hit the scoop, and every time you do that, the value of the drop targets here goes up. And why would you want to do that? Well, the entire game can be boiled down to here if you really want it to. The cool thing about these drop targets is that they're sweepable. From the right flipper, you can go up and just hit all of them. A little scary reject if you hit this, but you just gotta be good enough, I guess. And the points you can get from that, like right now, I think all of these at a base value only give like maybe like, I don't even know, 500 a drop, but you hit the scoop once, now they're all 5,000. You hit the scoop a second time, now they're all 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. That is huge points, and once you hit all the drop targets down, they just pop back up and you keep doing it. And the scoop value, so the amount that you advance the points on those drop targets, stays ball after ball after ball. Something I have seen turned out, and the reason I went for spinners before too is because these bonus drop targets will, on some games, the bonus stays, and bonus can be meaty on a classic, as we all know. So even if I miss the right spinner, I would still hit some of these, and I would progress my bonus. I've played at the tournament now, I played at too many tournaments now, where this multiplier does not stay ball to ball, and I just wasn't aware. I actually ended up playing it in the finals, and I just looked stupid just hitting those all the time, because I wasn't getting anywhere with it. I just thought that I was progressing, and I wasn't. I don't know if there's a way to turn off this progress being held. So I think that's what I'm going to go for. I think that's a more consistent way to play. I'm just going to have to learn to trust myself to sweep those. Again, you don't have to sweep them. You can backhand them too. Backhanding's a little bit scarier in my opinion because then you have drain hazards again. But yeah, I'm still gonna take spinner shots when I get them. Like if I get a lucky in lane, I'm probably gonna go for the spinner anyway, because that's too juicy to not go for. But I also want to practice patience. I don't want to do it on the fly, like from here and then try to aim it, because anytime you're out of control in this game, it's scary. What I think I'm gonna try to do is if I hit the in lane, I'm gonna post trap as much as possible. And if it rolls up a little bit, I'm gonna micro tap and it's gonna come back. That's my goal, because I want a controlled shot at that spinner, and the spinner is not timed. Once you hit the in lane, the spinner is lit until you hit it once. So I'm going to take my time. I'm going to really figure out the cradle timings for those spinners if I want to do that, and go from there. Collecting leathers is always good too. It gives you a special if you collect them all. That is points, but it's not something you really aim for unless the last one you had to hit is K, because it is just random chance when it comes down to it. Very rarely are you going to be in a situation where that's going to get you the game, or you're even in a situation where you can collect it at all. Let's keep moving. Last game, game 5 of 5 in the classics, is Spectrum. This is a game that has been at the venue that this tournament is being held for a while now. It's a game that it's funny because I never really let me put it this way. When I play tournaments there, no one knows what's going on this game. It's actually a pretty simple game. I did look it up into the rules, prior to knowing it would be in the Classics Bank here. But it's a loud space, and a lot of this game has to do with the game, like the callouts that it's giving you. It gives you info, and based on that info, you take different shots. And if you can't hear it, then that info doesn't really mean a whole lot. So a lot of the ways that we were just playing this before was you just rush through getting through the lights here. So let me run back to the beginning. First off, very interesting playfield. No out lanes. You can only drain down the middle, and you have these things on the far left and the far right. And what those do is there's a few ways that you can get the ball in there. One of them is to hit the scoop all the way at the top here, and then it pops it a certain way. If you hit the ball around here, if the ball falls like somewhere in like this section, the ball can actually fall through the wall, and then it'll come out through the bottom. And when it comes out through that bottom, it shoots it through it's like the Venom, how it stops the ball and then shoots it, but there's no in-lane drop. Like, it's just shooting it. So prior to the last couple times I played it at this location, what you would do is you would know you entered here, you would know to hold the right flipper up so it would just bounce to the other side. Or it would hit the post and then come back, and you could do something safely. What I've noticed is happening right now is that when you do that nowadays, if you hold the flipper up, it goes up, it hits the post, and then down the middle. And I'm sure they said it that way intentionally to make the game a little bit harder. So you have to do something, either take an on-the-fly shot or like try to like do a little micro tap at the end or something to keep the ball from either just draining down the middle or just draining down the middle. I haven't even explained the rules of the game yet. So there is a color code that is randomized in the game, and it's random for everybody. So if you're player 2, your code will not be the same as player 1. And you start on the top left box, and all the lights are kind of going crazy. You have blue targets here. You have, it's either red or green. I am red-green colorblind. This is the green ones, because these ones are the red ones. Got it. Okay, that's a little lore drop about Nightlight. I'm red-green colorblind. So you got the greens up here, you got the yellows up here, and you got the reds up here, which correlates to all of the colors in the grid there. Your goal is to figure out what color you want that grid to be lit for, which means like if you knock all 3 of the blues down, then that blue becomes lit in that grid and you move on to the next grid. How do you find out what the password is? How do you find out what color the grid wants you to be? You hit one of the scoops. So if you hit the top scoop, it will tell you what one color that it is not. So you go up there, you have no info, you just, first shot, you go up there, you hit it, and it'll say like not red. So now you know that you do not want to hit this set of drop targets down. You know it's one of the other 3. I believe that this left scoop will tell you if it's you can see here it's either yellow or whatever this other color is. And see, and this is where being colorblind really sucks on this game, because these don't have an audio cue. So it'll light one. I just need to learn which of these is red and which of these is green. I'd assume this is yellow and green because it should correlate to the tops, and this is blue and red because it correlates to the bottoms, maybe. Guessing into the air right now. But, I mean, you can see it, you know. But yeah, that'll give you more information, and that'll just show which color is it is if it's flashing. Those are a little bit harder to hit than the ones up the middle. And yeah, you're just trying to fill out this code, and it gives you more bonus the more you figure out over time. The more in order that you get, I think you get more as well. The spinners up here don't seem to really be doing a whole lot. It's just kind of a bailout shot. There's not a ton of danger in this game, to be honest. You can stay alive on this game for a long time, but these slings are not like your modern slings. They just hard hit and then come down, which is a little scary. Yeah, so I didn't actually take any notes on this because this is a game I played before, but I'm going to hopefully try to get my qualifying in at a quiet time, maybe when it just opens or when the tournament just starts, because I just want to be able to hear what's going on. I think that's a huge benefit. And yeah, there's not really too many strategies beyond that. I think just having the knowledge of the game is strategy enough on this game, because a lot of people just don't have the strategy in mind. And I also need to, a thing that I'll do on this game sometimes is, let's say I need to hit all the reds down, right? And I'm on this flipper, I haven't hit any of the reds down yet, and there's only one left on the greens, right? And I just keep missing this bottom right red. What I would do previously is kind of try to find a way to send it to the other flipper, whether sending it up and just hoping it comes down right to get a clean shot on that red. I honestly think it's okay to do the wrong choice sometimes just to clear it and to move on, especially if you're missing a shot a lot. Like if that's a tough shot to hit, obviously that's going to increase my bonus, but if I'm going to die on the way there, then I think that it might be better to just take the top shots because they're a little bit safer, they're a little bit easier to hit. And you know, just don't worry about having a perfect game, because you're not gonna have a perfect game. Like, bouncing around happens, you're gonna hit targets here, there, everywhere. So just keep rolling and roll with the punches. Try to, instead of maybe trying to finish all of this with the right color, maybe just try to finish all of it, because I've never even finished all of it before. It says it's a 5 ball. I think it's set to, it might be set to 5. I don't know, I'll have to check on that. Ooh, the other thing, this is not for my location, because I know how my location does it, but the way it launches the ball is actually just like you hit the right flipper or the left flipper, and it shoots the ball up and then floats it there for a second until it hits one of the flippers. I've also heard of some games where it's just like barely touching the end of the flipper and then it falls back down. Usually that doesn't take your ball because you haven't scored any points, but one of the notes I would say on this game is try to find a way to control the launch, get it to the flipper that you want it to. But that's not a problem on mine because I know exactly how mine launches. A little bit of an outfit change here, recording the next day for this outro, but thank you so much for joining me. I hope you gained a little bit out of this video, and I want to thank my patrons again, my 2 paid patrons, Jose Garcia and Spooner. Thank you so much. What I'm gonna do is, for the bonus content at the second Patreon level on my Patreon, you'll see that there's a few mains in this tournament that I'm less familiar with as well, so I'm gonna go through those as well. One of them is Transporter, which is a game that I've seen and played once, but I don't know a whole lot about. It's this wacky alien game with this weird upper flipper ramp thing going on. It looks really cool, so I'm excited to discover that with you. I might also go through Jurassic Park as well. It's not part of the same tournament, but it's at my local location. They just got a Jurassic Park, and it's one of the modern Sterns that I'm a little bit less familiar with. So want to go through that. I think that'll help me a lot, and if you would like to see that, go ahead to the Patreon and subscribe there. But overall, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you on the next episode.